have this one, and I was like, Kaya could use my thing, but it's easier just to have this.
No, she had a revelation that she was out of town and she was supposed to be here, and that didn't quite work. So my name is Kaya Iverson, but like Diane, I do serve on the board of this church. So welcome. Whether you are guest or member, we're delighted to have you, or whether you are joining us remotely, now or later, we are thrilled to have you. Now, to keep us all safe, we have asked you guys keep your masks on, but we will take them off when we're up here. Okay? That sound good? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so, as Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant through our shared 7 principles. The mission of the DuPage UU Church is to gather as an inclusive community, to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world towards fairness, love, and compassion. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you're welcome here. So now I want to mix things up and ask you guys to turn to one another, especially someone you don't know, and introduce yourselves. You don't have to shake hands, but please, mix it up.
light this chalice today for our third Unitarian Universalist principle. We believe in the acceptance of one another and encourage to spiritual growth in our congregations.
Good morning. Our call to worship are words by Burton Carley entitled, "We Gather on This Sabbath Morn." We gather on this Sabbath morn to worship in spirit and truth, to raise a joyful noise to the eternal mystery, to reconfirm our covenant, to seek wisdom in love, to strengthen our commitment to the common good. We come from many paths to explore that which is hidden, to consider the ways of our hearts, to confess how we have stumbled, to heal what is broken. We assemble in the effort to quicken our compassion and mercy, to deepen our understanding, to renew our courage, to remember who we are. Thus do we celebrate the grace and gift of life and practice our faith to the greater glory of the Spirit. Come, let us worship together today. Please join me in singing hymn number 192, "O Beauty in the Life." Please rise if you are willing and able.
Please remain standing. Please join me in our covenant. We come together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian Universalist principles, and to our DuPage UU Church community. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous in relationship with each other, that we transform ourselves and the world. Thank you.
Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships that we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week, we share our joys and concerns with each other in this space. This week, I have no joy or concern specifically, but I would love to celebrate the flowers that the Hamill family has donated for this service today. Sometimes our joys and our concerns are unspoken, and that is all right. Sometimes they are too much or just not ready to be shared with the world, and that's okay. But know that your community is here with you, walking in this path of life, and we will be here ready for when you are ready to share. Today's meditative prayer will actually be sung by us. There are many different ways of praying or meditating in the world. One is through song. And so we have 3 talented soloists who will be leading us through a meditation on breathing.
It is time to gather. The theme this month is courage. And there are times when we have to muster our personal courage and do something hard for us. It might be expressing a diverging opinion from your group of friends. It might be swallowing your pride and saying you're sorry. It might be jumping in the deep end of the pool or being the only one to raise your hand. My lesson story today is the wise teacher's test, and it comes from the Buddhist tradition. Once upon a time, on the outskirts of a big city in Japan, there stood an old temple. And from a young age, boys who wanted to study Buddhism would come to live in the temple and to learn from the master teacher, a Buddhist monk. One day, the Buddhist monk who ran the small temple decided to teach his young students a lesson. He gathered them around and spoke. "My dear students, as you can see, I am growing old and slow. I can no longer provide for the needs of the temple as I once did. I know I have not yet taught you to work for money, and so I can only think of one thing that can keep our school from closing." And the students drew close with eyes wide. Our nearby city is full of wealthy people with more money in their purses than they could ever need. I want you to go into the city and follow those rich people as they walk through the crowded streets, or when they walk down the deserted alleyways. And when no one is looking, and only when no one is looking, you must steal their purses from them. That way, we'll have enough money to keep our school alive. But Master, the boys chorused in disbelief, you have taught us that it is wrong to take anything that does not belong to us. Yes, indeed I have, the old monk replied. It would be wrong to steal if it were not absolutely necessary. And remember, you must not be seen. If anyone can see you, you must not steal. Do you understand? Well, the boys looked nervously from one to another. Had their beloved teacher gone mad? His eyes shone with intensity such that they had never seen before. Yes, Master, they said quietly. Good, he said. Now go and remember, you must not be seen. And the boys got up and quietly began to file out of the temple building. The old monk rose slowly and watched them go. When he turned back inside, he saw that one student was still standing quietly in a corner of the room. Why did you not go with the others? He asked the boy. Do you not want to help save our temple? I do, Master, the boy said quietly. But you said that we had to steal without being seen. And I know that there is no place on earth that I would be and not be seen, for I would always see myself. Excellent, exclaimed the teacher. This is just the lesson I had hoped my students would learn, but you were the only one to see it. Run and tell your friends to return to the temple before they get us into trouble. And the boy ran and got his friends, who were nervously gathered just out of sight of the temple, trying to decide what to do. And when they returned, the master told them the words the boy had spoken, and they all understood the lesson. No matter what we do, we always have a part of ourselves that is quietly watching, and that knows right from wrong, and can guide us if we listen. It is now time for the children and youth to go to the religious education classes. Let's sing them out.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Wilmarth Tyna, and I am assisting today as the worship associate. Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts that we are given by this community. Your contribution helps support the programs and operations of DUUC. Giving is also how we live our values in the world, and each month we share our offering with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. The special offering during October will benefit Community Access Naperville. At this time, I'd like to invite Sherry to come up and share a little bit about CAN.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for inviting us today, especially Mary. We appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit about our organization with all of you. Go ahead, next slide. Community Access Naperville's mission is to empower people with disabilities to contribute to and enjoy their community. Next slide. We were founded in 2010 by a group of parents who had young adults who were graduating from the school system in Naperville and looking for something meaningful for them to do and not finding, an opportunity for them to be active and engaged in the community. So not finding what we were looking for, we just decided to start something. We started with a one-week summer day camp. And very quickly over the years, we have added days to our weeks until at this point, we have a program that meets Monday through Friday and every other Saturday, and we just added a second program next door. We are very grateful to First Congregational United Church of Christ that provides space for our programming at no cost to us. That happens to be our home church, so we have appreciated their support over the years. And now the second program that we just started is at Community United Methodist right across the street. So the location is perfect. We're right in downtown Naperville. The group, so the four tenets that are important to us is we always have a vocational component where we volunteer for other nonprofits. We also create our own products. But something where the individuals can be productive and give back to the community. We always have a recreational part because you always have to have a little bit of fun, something to look forward to as we're going through to get them to be interested in doing the work part. We incorporate neurotypical peers into our program by bringing in interns from local colleges. It gives them a chance to really get to know our young adults and get to know what a community-based program is so that as they go on to their careers in social services, then they can see what that kind of a program can look like. Another component of it is for us that it needs to be affordable and available to families to meet them where they are. Next slide. So our participants, one of our participants is here with us today, my son Michael. When he's feeling uncomfortable, he falls asleep, so so that's, but all of our young adults have fairly significant social skill and communication challenges. And so, many of them require staff support in order to be out in the community. And so that's something that's important to us, is to offer that opportunity for them to be out and be part of the community every single day. And the Bridge program that we just started is designed for people who have even more support needs, that need even more structure, that maybe can't handle a 5-hour day, but more of a 3-hour day, so that they can still be part of the community, but meeting them where they are. Next slide. So I brought a little sample to show you one of the things we do. The 3 Naperville libraries collect crayons, used crayons, for us twice a year. Our participants sort and peel the crayons, and then we melt them down and create super crayons that we then give away to 3 local hospitals. The group then takes the crayons to the pediatric wing of the hospital so that children who either are visiting families or who are in the hospital themselves can benefit from the crayons. We also make rosary beads and beatitude bracelets. So Reverend Mark over at First Congregational wrote a beatitude prayer to go along with the beads, and we'll give some to Mary so that we can hand some out for you all next week for anybody who would like to have one. Next slide. We also volunteer for many nonprofits in the community, West Suburban Food Pantry, the Naperville Public Libraries, the Naperville Police Station, Humanitarian Service Project, Project Cure, Sharing Connection. We have many partners in the community, and they have been absolutely fabulous in welcoming our participants and giving them a chance to be part of the community. Next slide. So just, and then of course, we like to have fun. We go bowling, we have picnics out in the community, we go out to lunch at local Naperville restaurants all the time. Pretty much every single session, they love that part of it. We go to the park, we go to the arcade. Barnes & Noble is a great place for everybody to hang out. So, always need to have a little bit of fun in the day. Next slide. So just some pictures of the group here. This is our community-based group that has been, there's no more than 6 participants at each session, so we keep it small so that we can go out into the community. This year, we were able to purchase a van, a 15-passenger van that gives us more opportunity to go even more places. We do also love public transportation. We haven't gotten back to that yet, but we do hope to get back to riding the bus and the train soon. And the last slide. And this is our new program that we just started, the Bridge program that we are growing. We're just at 2 days a week right now, but we are intending over the next couple years to build that to 5 days a week. So really, right now we're at a place where we're trying to transition from parents being in charge to paid staff being in charge. Buying the van and hiring more staff is really helping us to grow and be sustainable for the future, because as parents, unfortunately, we can't be here forever and do this forever, but we want this kind of a program for our young adults for as long as they're able to do it. So we appreciate any support you can provide for us to help us to make that transition and to help provide this kind of an opportunity for young adults with disabilities into the future. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sherry. If you didn't notice, and maybe later when you see Sherry, on the back of Sherry and Michael's shirts is the website if you'd like to learn more. It's www.communityaccessnaperville.org. The morning's offering to support the work of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and of CAN is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. Today I get to read an excerpt to you from Nora Samarin's Turn This World Inside Out, The Emergence of Nurturance Culture. At Windsor House, a free school in Coast Salish territories, also known as Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, every child has an internal map of how harm is handled by their school community. In this school, the only public democratic school in North America and one of the longest running brick and mortar free schools in the world, any student who experiences harm can write up the other person who they feel harmed them. When someone is written up, They are required to go to what the school calls Justice Council, which is a circle of their peers who then help repair the harm that has been done. Going to that circle is not an option. It is a requirement for anyone who wants to be a member of that school's community. This is especially notable because it is one of the only concrete requirements at a public, accessible, democratic school that is almost no coercion or compelling of any other kind. In a community so steeped in an ethic of consent and self-determination, I was curious how this worked. I asked my friend's 9-year-old daughter, "So, what happens if a kid who gets written up just doesn't come to council?" And without a pause, she answered, "Well, council will go to them." And what her answer says to me is that these kids experience Justice Council as self-evident and ordinary. When you hurt someone, you get called to council, and you have to go. You are expected to make it right again. Attachment theory teaches us that true autonomy relies on feeling securely connected to other human beings. Contrary to many Western conceptions of the self as disconnected and atomized, operating in isolation using nothing but grit and determination, it turns out that close-knit connections to others are in large part of how we grow into our own fully expressed autonomous self. It seemed to me, thinking in attachment terms, that there is a relationship between this requirement to heal relationships and the children's sense of freedom to be themselves. The students who go through Justice Council are not necessarily best friends, and they may not be freely choosing to be with one another. They exist in relationship nonetheless. They decide how close they want to be, but an underlying sense of shared humanity exists in the bigger container that can hold everyone in the school community, that can expect certain basic relationship capacities from them. At Justice Council, students are not punished. Punishment can disconnect people from empathy and lead them to focus on whether they got caught or the shame, rather than on the feelings and the needs of the people whom they have harmed. Instead, a circle of their peers listens as each of the people involved gets a turn to share what happened. Then the circle expects whoever caused the harm to mend it in a way that helps meet the needs of the person who was harmed. This might look like consequences and boundaries for safety, such as losing access to a specific area of the building. This, again, is not an option, but required. As my friend's daughter patiently explained to me, the goal of Justice Council is to stop that same harm from happening again and help them both feel good and stronger together again so that they are not hurt by what happened. These students use Justice Council often and easily. They reweave the fabric of their community as a routine part of their daily life in school. And through these experiences, these students are more free to be themselves, knowing that who they are is dependent on knowing who others are, and how together they can interact with one another and all of humanity. They have a safe space in which to fully act themselves, knowing and trusting that the framework to address disagreement and harm in ways that respect each other's autonomy is the basic element of their system. Please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Let's call her Susan. Susan had a deep heart for people. She often sacrificed her time and money for other people. Susan, as a member of a church, found herself gravitating towards all the things that she could do that had to do with social justice and investing her whole person into those things. She would often become a living, breathing cause for justice. But Susan was also challenging to work with. She often got so caught up in doing good for others, she forgot to do good for the people right in front of her. She often bulldozed what she thought was the right plan of action through her committees. She often ignored policy and procedures. She meant well, truly she did. Her heart was with the people she was trying to serve. She saw the system, however, as unneeded bureaucracy, and she would tell anybody who would listen that that was what she thought. The thing was, no one ever said no or challenged her. For so long, Susan's rule was law in the church, and it began to wear on others. Their enthusiasm for projects and people would only happen if Susan endorsed it. She would often grumble or start rumors about people or situations if things didn't go her way. It didn't stop with justice work, however. Whenever Susan tried to engage in other areas of the community, people would also back away from those areas too. When she was at coffee hour, people would tiptoe around their conversations, making sure not to upset her. And then one day, it was decided that an entire overhaul of the Social Justice Committee was necessary. While Susan was part of the reason for this, there were other things as well. And I am sure that you can imagine Susan's reaction to what she had come to consider her baby. The thing is, no one ever actually spoke to Susan about anything at all. No one spoke to her about her bullying behavior, her lack of boundaries, and no one ever spoke to her about restructuring the committee. It is amazing how an entire congregation of people, in fear of upsetting just one person, took abuse and harm, including the staff. No one was happy, and no one was willing to change that. Now, one might argue that Susan was happy while she had her justice work. But I'm going to say that Susan probably felt the complete and very real overwhelm at the injustice of the world, and feeling impotent threw her whole self in at whatever problems she faced without being strategic about it. Further, her overwhelm meant that she didn't hold boundaries well. She opened herself up to potential hurt and abuse, and then hurt and abused others because of her unawareness. Susan needed boundaries. She needed boundaries to protect herself and to cultivate her sense of awareness. The congregation needed boundaries to protect themselves from experiencing abuse and harm. They also needed boundaries so that the mission of the church would remain the priority before any particular individual. The people and communities that were getting help from Susan needed boundaries to protect themselves as well. When I think of church community, maybe like you, I think of service auction dinners moving worship services, taking a class that taught me something new, friendships I experience. All of these things are good and fabulous benefits of being in relationship with one another. But being in community, real community, community that gets us to the ever-changing, beloved community that works toward the common good, it's not forged in the fires of service auction dinners. Real community is forged in the fires of relationship, in the fires of navigating harm and hurt and difference. Not only that, but we as individuals are forged in the fires of negotiating difference. This is what psychologists mean when they say that we would be miserable if we were happy all the time. In fact, most people are the happiest after hard or difficult things, not after the easy or happy ones. Susan's experience is not one story, but a number of stories, pieced from many different congregations. And I really, really do marvel at how conflict-averse we humans can be. I marvel at how we can avoid one unpleasant conversation, but sit in unpleasantness as a community for years. And I am not entirely certain I know exactly why, but I do know that it is a problem. Now, I should name that everybody responds differently to bullying, harm, and traumatic behavior. As a result of the trauma that I experienced as a child, I am a fighter. That doesn't mean I pick fights, but it does mean that confrontation is not quite as hard for me as it is for some people. And here's where that came from. In moments of my childhood, when nothing around me was life-giving, including my family relationships, needing to free myself from the lies and the whispers was literally how I kept myself alive. It meant confronting the bad behavior and lies that my elders propagated. And I paid a price for it. I was considered rude, traumatized. But what if I had had a justice council? What if, rather than demonizing the traumatized child who was just simply trying to save herself, the adults in my life would have listened and responded accordingly, helping to heal my hurt because they knew that my health and wholeness was connected to theirs. What if Susan had had a justice council? What if someone had given Susan boundaries so that she could heal herself and not inflict harm on others? Her behavior makes me wonder if she had a trauma or had experienced harm in her own background. Maybe a justice council could have helped her understand and heal that. What if someone had known that Susan's healing meant community healing? This is the hard part of community. This is the most worthwhile part of community. We are called by our vision of beloved community and by our covenant, the promise of our commitment to our community and to each other, to speak up. We speak up because the soul of our congregation is at stake. Speaking up does not mean we triangulate. It does not mean we ignore, or that we find a non-confrontational way to avoid a problem. Speaking up means that we believe in the promise of beloved community so strongly that we are willing to take risks in order to save it, in order for it to flourish. It takes courage to be in community, to dream with a community, to grow in a community. It takes courage to have difficult conversations in conflict. But here's why I love the model of a Justice Council. We are not alone. The Justice Council is about facing harm together. When someone doesn't show up to the council comes to them. It stands in solidarity with the harmed. It stands in solidarity with those that did the harm, because the council knows that healing has to happen for both. Because the council knows that we need each other to be strong individuals and a strong community. It's a paradox, isn't it? That without each other, we cannot be whole individuals. Whether it's a council, a committee on shared ministry, or a board, every community has the possibility of living into this process by which to cultivate courage for ourselves. Yes, sometimes that courageous moment does not end easily. Sometimes the one who caused harm is not willing to face the harm, even when the council comes to them. And sometimes someone who causes harm is not willing to take the necessary steps to repair and amend the harm. And it is in those moments when our courage needs to grow bolder and stronger, to name that the community is more important than an individual, and that individual needs to find another place until they are willing to make amends. And this moment of repair is where we as individuals have to also reach for courage again, to set aside our own shame and humble ourselves when we have wronged others. Boy, is that hard. This is not an easy thing to do, and it is necessary for a community. The courage in covenantal community is not, however, just about individual conflict and harm, but about also the ways that we might communally have disagreements, or even simply decide on different directions. The social justice piece example above is a great model for this. Each and every person in this room has a different passion and a different idea of where to spend time and energy on justice work. And I'm so glad that's true. Because diversity means that we can have deep conversations about how to do justice work. And it also means that your passions will drive your actions beyond these walls. But we know that we cannot tackle everything. And we know that the importance of making a significant impact is important. One of the things that I'm spending time on this year is exploring how we might discern together where we might collectively wish to move as a community to be most impactful. And I want to hear all of your ideas, so that next year we can decide on how we wish to move forward. And I know that not all of our ideas are going to be possible. Yet, I believe we can be courageous enough to come to this conversation knowing that we will learn and grow, that we will speak and that we will listen, that we will focus our efforts collectively on what our community is most passionate about, even if we wish it would have gone another way. we will address our disagreements about direction or anything else directly and kindly, that we may preserve this community and our love for it. This is a really hard message to share with you all. It's difficult, and you might be feeling a little uncomfortable, and some of you may even feel like this is impossible. I am asking of you that when you experience harm, when you find yourself or someone in our community not living up to our best selves, to speak up. I'm asking that when you disagree with me or each other, that we have hard conversations. Why am I asking this of you? I need you to hear this very clearly. Because I love you. I love you. I love each of you so deeply, whether this is your first day or whether you have been here for years. I love you as part of this congregation. And I want that love to grow and deepen. I want us to love each other into becoming beloved community over and over and over again. I want us to embody who we are as Unitarian Universalists so that we can transform ourselves and the world. Dear ones, I love you. And in loving you, I want us to be our best selves and the best selves we can be for this community. I reject that we will be the congregation that sits silent rather than hold each other in love by having hard conversations. We can be more. We can love each other through those moments. Moreover, I ask that you hold me to those same standards as I will hold myself to them. I don't get a special pass because I'm a minister. In fact, as your minister, I must enact these difficult conversations and critical confrontations as a model of what we all might become. And I know I won't always get it right. But the beauty of doing this together is that we can love each other through those hard moments into the future of beloved community. Being in a covenantal community takes courage. It takes courage to be yourself. It takes courage to disagree. And it takes courage to commit to heal everyone in this room. Without courage, though, we lose heart, we lose passion, and we fail to live into our dreams. As your board calls you this year to come together to build community, I ask that you do so with courage to embrace ourselves and each other, transforming the world in the process. Please join me in singing hymn number 1017, We Are Building a New Way. Please rise if you are willing and able.
Building a new way, feeling strong.
we are building a new way. We are building a new way in love, a way that lets us be fully ourselves, because we know that in the fullness of ourselves, even if harm happens, it will be addressed with care and love. Let us go forth with conviction that we can do hard things, have hard conversations, because we are together taking steps towards beloved community. May it be so.
Please join me in our closing words as we extinguish the chalice. Maybe? In that case, thank you for joining us this morning, and I wish for everybody to go in peace.